The following is a project of our nonprofit newsroom. Support Midcoast Morning and local journalism today at chly.ca/donate. Local news doesn't survive without local support.
Hello and welcome to Midcoast Morning. I'm Joe Pugh. A plan to shape the future of the Woodgrove area is now complete and has made its way before City Council. On Monday night, Nanaimo City Council voted in favor of the first two readings of the Woodgrove Area Plan. It's now being referred to other levels of government and First Nations. It's expected to head to a public hearing later this year. The plan is a 51-page document that sets out policy for how future development in the area will proceed. It lays out goals related to tree cover, parkland, community amenities, housing types, and more. On Tuesday, the project manager behind the plan paid a visit to the CHLY studio to speak about it.
My name is Kasia Biegun, and I am a planner in the Community Planning Department at the City of Nanaimo, and I am the project manager for the Woodgrove Area Plan project.
And the Woodgrove Area Plan, it now exists. It is making its way through City Council. You can go and check it out and read all 50 pages of it. What is this Woodgrove Area? How did you decide what it is? Why do we have a plan for it?
So in 2022, we passed our official community plan, which we call City Plan Nanaimo Reimagined. And this is a document that provides the vision for how the community is going to grow over the next 25 plus years. And it really builds off previous official community plans that have been adopted through the years. And it just refined the boundaries of the area to include about 60 parcels, generally around the Woodgrove Mall site. And we're calling this area the Woodgrove Secondary Urban Center. And it's one of 7 urban centers that we have in that plan, where we're looking to have the majority of the growth that is projected for our community to go there, because that's where we have the infrastructure, the amenities needed to support that type of growth.
So right now, the Woodgrove area, it looks like a lot of big box stores and, of course, the Woodgrove Center. What are you hoping that it looks like in 2046?
Yeah, great question. So through City Plan, we actually asked the community, what do you envision in your urban centers? And what we heard back was this concept of a complete community, which is really just planning jargon for a great place where you want to live, where you can work, ideally within walking or biking distance, where you have access to really great amenities, be it shopping, retail, as well as parks, recreation, and cultural facilities. So that's the goal that came through City Plan that we heard. And so the purpose of the Woodgrove Area Plan was to refine that vision. How do we actually achieve a complete community within the Woodgrove Secondary Urban Center? And in the planning world, we do it through policies and what we call an area plan. So it's a bit more detailed look at the area beyond what City Plan has envisioned for it.
And there are a number of policies obviously outlined in this 50-page document. Things like achieve a 30% tree canopy coverage, or achieve certain targets for how many people are going to be driving versus taking transit versus walking in 2046. How do you get from where we are now to achieving those targets? So once you have the policy that says this is the goal, how do you get there?
Through redevelopment. And so the intent of this area plan is actually to be a guide, not only for the community to see what the overall vision is, but it's for when a development comes forward, be it a rezoning, a subdivision, or a development permit application. We look to those policies to determine, okay, what steps do we need to take to actually achieve the various policy directions that we've set in the Woodgrove Area Plan. So when it comes to the natural environment, what natural environmental features are you proposing? And within the Woodgrove Urban Center, we're very familiar with there being quite a lack of natural environment within the area. So really, it's bringing that natural environment back into that community. In terms of housing, what type of housing are you providing? Is it meeting the needs of our community when it comes to affordability, bedroom mix, Transportation. Right now, the area is really dominated by vehicles, automobiles. And so are you proposing infrastructure, sidewalks, cycling infrastructure, rolling infrastructure to support different modes of transportation coming to the site and leaving the site? And then as well as access to daily needs, are you providing options for people to be able to shop and have access to basic daily needs like a grocery store or a pharmacy? Is there a park or a recreation or culture facility nearby? And same with infrastructure. Is there actually the capacity to be able to support the growth that you're proposing? So when you look at a development coming forward, we're going to make sure that all those various important aspects of a complete community are achieved in every development. And over time, as the developments continue to occur within the Woodgrove Urban Centre, eventually, over time, we'll achieve that complete community.
So the way people should think of this is that when someone comes to the City of Nanaimo and says, hey, I want to develop this property that presumably I own in the Woodgrove area, then the city is going to say, they're going to take a look at this plan. They're going to say, does it check these boxes, yes or no? If yes, great. If no, well, make it check the boxes. Is that how people should think about this?
Yeah, exactly. And we work with developers all the time to ensure that the policy directions that the community has provided us are being met. And so that's part of the responsibility of planners, is to ensure that we're actually achieving the goals that the community has set.
Now, there are a number of large-scale retailers already in this area. I know one of the policy points is that if new large-scale retailers get proposed, that they're supposed to be integrated into mixed-use developments and designed in a format consistent with transit-oriented development. But what about the ones that are already there? Like if we flash forward 20 years, what if just no one redevelops, say, the Costco or the Superstore or the Woodgrove Center or the big Save-On Foods? How do we ensure that something changes?
Yeah, that's a great question. You know, the city doesn't own those private properties. However, we do own the land adjacent to it, the roads, for example. And so we can, over time, through public investment, look at providing at least better opportunities for different modes of transportation, if that's the direction that council would like to take. We can look at potentially acquiring land to provide opportunities for new park, recreation, culture facilities, if that's, once again, the direction that council would like to take. But a lot of that land, actually all of it, is privately owned. So the hope is that depending on how the market can bear, if there's a desire for development to occur, we have a plan ready to help guide it.
And I also saw that one of the things called for in this plan is a sort of new civic space. When I was reading through the plan, it kind of gave the vibes of when people sometimes talk about a third space, that the city is looking to create a new one of those in the Woodgrove area. I'm wondering if you could tell me more about that. Yeah,
so we're actually envisioning quite a mix of different recreation and cultural facilities. We're looking at potentially having one potentially close, similar to what you would imagine with Oliver Woods. In terms of the programming, that will depend on when it comes forward for development, be it through private development or through the city bringing that forward as an initiative. People's needs change, so we'll have to probably do a needs assessment to determine at the time what will be encompassed in terms of that recreational facility. But we're also looking at smaller ones and potentially ones where you have public-private partnerships. This is really common in the Lower Mainland now, where they're moving away from these very large recreation and cultural facilities, and you're looking at potential for partnerships within mixed-use buildings, like you mentioned. And so we've added policy in there to say we're looking for those opportunities, and this is the guidance on how to achieve this mix of both public and private spaces for people to be able to use within the community.
Where are we starting from in terms of parkland in the Woodgrove area?
We currently have no parkland. So in phase 1, we did a baseline assessment as part of our Complete Communities grant that we received from the province. And that was to determine how far away are we from achieving a complete community. And one of the things we looked at was, is there access to parks currently? There is adjacent to the boundary of the study area, but within the actual scope of the Woodgrove Secondary Urban Center, there are currently no parks, recreation, or cultural facilities. So there's a lot of need to improve that for the area.
Is there any land that even just looking at the map you can squint and envision in a decade this could be a park? Like, are there kind of green spaces that are projected to be developed in this area that could contribute to that parkland, or are there properties the city is maybe looking at buying to turn into parks?
So if you look at the plan, we do have a park section that identifies potential sites where we could have park facilities. But that will once again determine based on when those sites redevelop, what type of park that will be. But I personally envision incorporation of green space into almost every development, because it's something that's really critical to the success of a complete community. And perhaps maybe that's a private park that's publicly accessible. But in terms of bringing back the concept of a park that we see around the rest of Nanaimo, that will come through redevelopment.
There's also a lot of space dedicated to parking lots in the area. Is that something that you see changing as a result of this plan?
Oh, that's going to be, I think, the biggest change. So there's quite a few factors influencing this shift. First is the province has passed transit-oriented legislation, which actually applies to the Woodgrove Secondary Urban Center. So within 400 meters of the transit exchange that currently exists on the Woodgrove Mall site, we can no longer require minimum parking requirements for residential. So that alone will change the amount of parking that may be provided. We also have city plan policy that talks about wanting to achieve walkable, bikeable communities. In order to do that, we need to start looking at shifting our parking that is going to be provided for both commercial and housing needs to be perhaps under the building or underground, because then that will start to reduce the length of distances between different destinations. So right now, if you walk from Woodgrove Mall perhaps to Palm, there's quite a large area of surface parking. And so over time, when that starts to infill, we'll start to see shorter distances for people to be able to enjoy their community.
And the plan also envisions that there will be a new transit exchange. The location of the transit exchange will change. Could you fill me in on maybe how you see that process going, what you imagine the timeline would be on that?
Yeah, so we've been working with the Regional District of Nanaimo. They were a partner on this project. And we've also been in talks with BC Transit regarding direction that we actually have in our Regional District of Nanaimo transit redevelopment strategy. There's policy in there that speaks to potentially relocating the transit exchange. And it became actually quite prominent at the start of this project to look at if there is a need to relocate the transit exchange, predominantly because of the transit-oriented legislation that I mentioned. The province has set minimum densities and heights that local government must allow a development to build to. And so given the current location of the transit exchange, quite a large of that circumference, that circle, that 400 meters, is landing within the district of Lanceville. And so we're actually somewhat at odds with our city plan vision for the Woodgrove Urban Center. And so it was really critical early on in the process that we looked at what are potentially other locations for a transit exchange within the Woodgrove Urban Center. And so we actually did a study very early on, and we looked at, I believe, 4 or 5 different sites and the potential amount of land that may be needed. However, once again, because this plan is 25 years plus, it may occur tomorrow, it may occur 5, 10, or 15 or 20 years from now. And it may occur either through private redevelopment, or it may be that the city, in partnership with the Regional District and BC Transit, determine that there's a need to relocate it. So the timing currently is unknown, but we've done our homework to say these are potential sites, and the benefits of these sites is that we are concentrating the growth within the Woodgrove Secondary Urban Center and not outside of our boundaries.
Midcoast Morning is part of our nonprofit newsroom project, supported by listeners like you. Keep this program on the air by funding it today with a monthly sustaining donation at chly.ca/donate. We've got tote bags and shirts if you need an incentive.
We're talking about the Woodgrove Area Plan on today's program. It aims to shape the future of development in the area around the Woodgrove Center in the city's north end. Current city planning envisions 7 urban centers in Nanaimo. Each of them will have their own area plan. The Woodgrove Area Plan passed 2 readings at Nanaimo City Council on Monday night. It's being referred to other government and First Nations partners. It's anticipated there will be a public hearing about the plan later this year. I'm speaking today with Kasia Biegun, a member of the city's planning department, who is the project manager for the Woodgrove Area Plan. Could you tell me how what you heard from the public shaped what went into the plan?
So we engaged the community at each phase. We had 3 phases in this project. So first phase was the baseline of how far are we away from achieving a complete community. The second one was we looked at growth scenarios. And the third was the overall policy direction. And over time, we generally heard similar to what we heard in City Plan, which is still this desire for a complete community and the desire for housing opportunities, the desire for parks, recreation, and culture, facilities, and amenities within the area. So that was consistent throughout, which was great. So we're just reinforcing the policies that we heard throughout the preparation of City Plan. But we did hear concerns about the actual potential growth and what that means for the community that currently exists. So there's a really lovely community of people that actually walk and bike within the area. And have really great access to amenities, and they want to keep that, but they're just concerned about what are the impacts going to be on the traffic, on parking, when there's more people moving there. And so we've tried through the policies to address this shift in modes of ways to move around, because if we were to add this population and everyone using their vehicles, yes, I believe there would be, quite a challenge when it comes to traffic in the area. But the intent through these policies is to shift some of the modes to people walking and rolling and cycling so that we can address some of those concerns that we heard through engagement.
And your target for 2046 is 76% of people driving around in their cars, 16% pedestrians or cyclists, and 8% on transit. So if those are the targets for 2046, what is it now?
Oh, that's a great question. I don't have the numbers on the top of my head, but that is a city plan target. So it's a target across the entire city. And it was a transportation department's recommendation to maintain that target for the Woodgrove Secondary Urban Center. I believe the rate is quite low. Apologies, I don't have the numbers in front of me, but the majority of travel is with automobile. And we did see that in our baseline assessment. There's quite a lack of sidewalks and cycling infrastructure. So many residents and individuals that go to that area don't feel safe using other modes of transportation. So right now, predominantly, it is vehicles.
And there's also a call for a new elementary school within this Woodgrove area?
That's correct. So we did work with the school district, 68. We reached out to them early on and gave them potential growth projections for the area. So we looked at potentially 2,500 people, 5,000, and 7,500 people. They did their own projections based on the work that they do. And they came back and said, if the high growth scenario, which is 7,500 people, does occur, we will likely need an elementary school. And so we've put in policy to make that clear to the community as well as the development community that potentially as growth occurs in this area, we may need land for an elementary school. But I want to make it really clear, this is an urban center. We're not looking at what we consider now, often we see in Nanaimo, 2-hectare lots for elementary school or high school. We're looking at potentially one within a mixed-use development that's multi-story. And so it's going to look a little bit different. We're starting to see those in other jurisdictions that have greater density, but a smaller footprint and potentially multi-story with potentially shared access to parks, recreation, culture facilities with the city.
When you say the elementary school would be part of a mixed-use, multi-story building, what are the other uses? Commercial or residential? Would it be like an apartment building with a school in it? Yeah,
we're keeping the options open because who knows how things will evolve over time. It could be part of the recreation and culture facility. It could be within a commercial development, like you said. It could be housing above. We don't know, and we don't want to limit our opportunities. So we're going to keep that option open for the school district and what works best for them when it comes to that time where they're going to need that elementary school.
We've talked a little bit about how the plan is for the transit exchange in that area to be in a new spot. In terms of other transportation changes, I know there's going to be a new signaled intersection according to the plan. What else can people expect to see change as far as the road network is concerned?
Yeah, so we are proposing what we're calling like a ring road. And that's going to be to alleviate some of the pressure on the existing intersections. And so that currently is through the Bowers District, which is also known as Green Thumb. That's already shown in the Bowers District Master Plan. That's going to continue through Kalinda, which currently exists. And then there's a new road proposed through the Costco site to a new intersection on the Island Highway, which would then connect through the Woodgrove Mall site to Metro Drive. And so that will provide that ring road concept that I was speaking of. We're also looking at extending a road north through Woodgrove Mall to provide more connectivity, so reduce the width of blocks. And we're also proposing, which I think is really exciting, and we've seen it in other jurisdictions, is what we're calling an active mobility road. So it will be a road, but it will be for active modes of transportation and not vehicles. And so we're proposing 2 within the Woodgrove Urban Center. And this will be a new standard added to our Manual of Engineering Standards and Specifications. And we're hoping to widen the use of this new road classification to other urban centers in the future.
So it's like a road for pedestrians and cyclists, basically, kind of like I'm thinking of the ENN trail around, say, Brooks Landing or Country Club Mall. Like, is that what people should think of?
I would think there's a great photo we have in the and cross section within the Woodgrove Area Plan that I recommend those that are interested look at. It's really this idea of having development on each side of it, and then the pathway in between. With landscaping. And it doesn't have to be a straight path. It could be a meandering curve path. But the intent really is that it's about 10 meters wide, and it provides opportunity for people to reduce those connections between different destinations.
And is my understanding that the public has really one last chance to weigh in and influence what the final plan looks like? There's going to be a public hearing on this? That
is correct. So we're looking at a public hearing likely in September. And it's an opportunity for the public to provide comment on it. So the public hearing process has now begun. The public can provide comment through our public hearing webpage. And we look forward to hearing from them.
And what exactly is there in the plan to make sure that it gets implemented and that as redevelopment is made, that this has an impact and shapes what the neighborhood looks like, and that this doesn't just go into a drawer and get forgotten about in 5 or 10 years?
Yeah, that's a great point. So through City Plan, the direction came that area plans will form part of City Plan. So this will become a bylaw document. And it will be referred to at time of development, just like City Plan is looked at time of development. And so it's going to be a critical piece to ensuring that the vision is actually achieved. And so the developers, along with the City of Nanaimo, will be looking at these policies to ensure that they're being achieved at time of development. And then we have a monitoring section at the end of the document that says, okay, these are the type of targets that we think are going to help us determine whether or not we're moving towards a complete community. And so those targets, depending on what the results are, will either say, yes, we are moving slowly towards it or quickly towards it, depending on how the rate at which development happens. And if we're seeing that we're actually not achieving those targets, then what do we need to do? Do we need to amend some of the policies within the Woodgrove Area Plan? Do we need to take other actions to help maybe support some more local businesses moving in, perhaps? Maybe there's still a lack of parks within the area. Is there something the city could do to help better achieve that target? And so we're going to try to monitor over time how we're getting there. And similar to what we've done with the City Plan, our integrated action plan and monitoring strategy, all those 3 documents work together. And where we're seeing we're not achieving our targets, what can we do through action and through policy to shift that towards trying to achieve what the community wants to see?
And then as far as implementation actions, are there any things that once this plan is approved, city staff are intended to sort of actively do to make sure it gets implemented?
So in terms of actions, one critical piece is actually updating our zoning bylaw, which is currently under review, to align with city plan. And so that idea of a mixed use center oftentimes is best achieved through zoning regulations. So our current planning team that is working on that project is going to be looking at the Woodgrove Area Plan if it gets adopted, as well as city plan, to ensure that our zoning regulations are in line with that. We're going to be looking at our housing needs. We look at our housing needs every 5 years. Is there a need to do specific housing needs information for Woodgrove? Is it different from the rest of the community? Same with transportation. Our transportation department will be keeping an eye to see how is the mode split being achieved? Is there a need for some capital improvements within the area? And same with our infrastructure. They are going to be keeping watch on whether or not the capacity of our current infrastructure is being impacted by future development. And so, our plan is to monitor it as time goes on to make sure that it doesn't sit on a shelf.
Is there anything else you think it's important to highlight for people living in Nanaimo right now about this plan and the future of the Woodgrove area?
Yeah, I would say that this is your opportunity right now to review the information in there. Before you see potentially a rezoning or development permit, this is your opportunity to provide really critical feedback on whether or not you support the vision and the policies within this document. So I really strongly encourage the community to, if you don't have a lot of time, just quickly flip through it and provide some feedback. If you have concerns or if you like the direction that you see, then please let us know and let council know, and we'll hopefully see this project adopted soon.
Kasia Biegun, thank you so much for coming down to the studio to talk about it.
Thank you so much for your interest.
Kasia Biegun is a member of the planning department with the City of Nanaimo. We were speaking about the Woodgrove Area Plan, which passed 2 readings at Nanaimo City Council Monday night. The plan is expected to come back for a public hearing later in the year. That's our show for the day. Thank you for joining me. I'm Joe Pugh, host and producer of Midcoast Morning. Jesse Woodward is our executive producer, and RB Frew is our technical advisor. You can sign up for CHLY's newsletter at chly.ca/subscribe. If you have a story you'd like us to cover, you can email us at news@chly.ca. Our theme song is First One by local Nanaimo band Waste Management. That's all for now. We'll talk to you on another Midcoast Morning.
This program gives thanks to the Nanaimo First Nation as we broadcast and podcast from their traditional territory. Thanks for listening.